And welcome back into our live National Football Signing Day show presented by Jimmy John's and American Family Insurance with National Football Editor Steve Spiewak. I am Steve Montoya, and on the phone right now we have the head coach from Plant High School in Florida, Robert Weiner. And Coach, you've been through signing day several times with a lot of big recruits. How's a day like this for you?
It's a crazy day. I mean, I think the days leading up to it are certainly crazy and culminate today. I think the final hours leading up to it, I know, crazy for the college coaches, but maybe even more for the high school coaches. And in this day and age, when a lot of the college coaches are just sitting by the fax machine, then they want to talk to your juniors as well. So get an opportunity to get the juniors on the phone with them as well, and so that throws a whole nother set of organization into the mix there. But hey, one thing I know for me as a high school coach is that the busier this day is, the less I am complaining. So that means we might have a couple good guys that the coach probably can't screw them up as much as maybe some other guys.
Coach, tell us about Andrew Beck, a linebacker that you have that is enrolled at Texas. You probably don't send too many recruits to the state of Texas, but what can Longhorns fans expect from Andrew Beck?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's interesting. He comes from a military family. In fact, his dad is a colonel in line to be a general. And so he's kind of been all over the country, but they spent significant time in Harker Heights, which is about 45 minutes away from Austin. So he's one of those kids, kind of like a kid who's been in Texas his whole life, who, that's what he's known since he was a little kid. As he's known Texas football, and that's what he's always wanted to be a part of. So, for him, it was a dream come true. And you're talking about a kid who's 6'3", 235 pounds, and consistently runs in the 4.52, 4.53 range. So you're talking about a kid who's really got a physical build to him. I mean, I had to explain to him, in coaching terminology, when college coaches came in and said that he was a good thing to look at and things like that he wasn't, didn't take that in any other way other than that he's a good football player. And things like that. So he's really a great combination of really power and athleticism. So that was tremendous thing that tremendous prospect that they'll get coming in.
Coach, one of your former players, James Wilder Jr., won a national championship just about a month ago with Florida State. What do you remember most about his recruitment? I think at one time he was ranked the #1 overall recruit in his class. Do you have any memories or funny stories about what it was like having the #1 ranked recruit walking the halls at Plant High School?
I'll tell you, it was funny and difficult at times. And again, it's one of those problems that you want to deal with and you want to have a little bit, but and it was great that James, got to play for and win a national championship. We've been fortunate enough to have 5 guys in the last 6 years that have been on 5 different teams that have won national championships. And actually 6 if you go back 2 years before that, if you count a junior college national championship. But we've had 5 guys on 5 BCS teams to win national championship rings. And so we're pretty blessed to be able to watch on that championship day every day and see one of those guys. But, James, actually, one of the things I try to do for my guys, just as their coaches, I try to kind of facilitate their process of talking to coaches and things like that, and try to have them kind of go through me to do it. And that way they're not bombarded with it, and I can kind of space it out for them a little bit where maybe, they'll talk to 1 or 2 coaches a day, and they're not pounded with like 10 in one day or something like that. And James at one point just kind of decided, he's like, I'm going to just kind of do this thing on my own. And he went for about a week. And honestly, he locked himself into his room at his house and refused to come out. And I actually had to go to his house and talk him down out of the room so that he could kind of rejoin society after that. But honestly, it was probably 2 or 3 days, other than like sliding him food through the door slot. It was probably 2 or 3 days that it took, and it can just get it can get crazy, you know. And I mean, there's a lot of people whose, you know, their jobs and their livelihoods are on the line. And when you talk about, you know, a guy who was rated the #1 recruit in the country, you're talking about a lot of guys who wanted to have him go to their school. So it was a crazy deal. And, you know, after we kind of got over that period, then, you know, he kind of let me kind of just help direct him a little bit. I mean, I didn't do anything other than just facilitate it, and, you know, and James made his own decision in the end. But I just wanted to keep it sane for him because we had been through it before, and we know that it can become insane during this time.
Well, Coach, 5 national championships. That's almost the amount of state championships you've won during that same time frame. But Coach, for people that I guess are not around big-time high school programs on a regular basis, can you kind of describe how does it work? How do you kind of delegate? How do you handle the deluge of college coaches? And what is that like on a day-to-day basis at Plant High School?
Yeah, it really is a difficult thing. And I think sometimes, you know, people think at a program like ours, you know, that, I mean, just we've been blessed for it to grow like it has, you know, that, well, you know, that coach must not have the normal day-to-day, you know, daily grind problems that I do or that someone else does or whatever. I mean, I teach, you know, depending upon the year, I teach 4 or 5 classes of English. I'm an English teacher. I've been an English teacher for 25 years. And, you know, so it's not like, you know, I'm just in a study hall or an in-school suspension or something like that. So, you know, with college coaches, then it's about kind of balancing those things. I got to be able to, you know, sometimes kind of front load my class in the first semester. So when we get to December, that it can kind of dwindle away a little bit in December when college coaches start coming in. And, you know, and sometimes it's the amount of juggling them at the same time. Sometimes you get 7 or 8 of them in the same time. I actually charted it during the spring, during our spring month last year, and we had 164 different schools through.
Wow.
So that's, thank guys. Sometimes we had more than you know 1 or 2 guys from a school, but we had 164 different schools. So obviously D1, some 1AA, a few D2 or D3. We had some NAIA and a couple of junior colleges, you know, come through during that time. So that's a lot of traffic, but you know, it's great exposure for our kids. And, you know, at that time they get to come out and watch practice as well and actually see the kids perform. So, so it is. It's a juggling act. There's no question about it, and it's a tough thing. But again, I want to, you know, get back to my original point that, you know, I'm truly blessed, and I never complain about it. And that really is the one thing. You know, if there's anybody out there who's listening who maybe has a, you know, a big time national recruit, you know, and maybe they haven't had one before, you know, the one thing that I can say that's been successful for me is that constantly, at least once a week, put into perspective for that young man that he is in a position that so many other people, including everybody else in his program, would love to be in. So to learn how to never treat this like, oh my God, this is so terrible. When you have other kids who are right next to you who would scrounge for any morsel of the same thing that you're getting. So, you know, we try to avoid any of our big-time kids kind of getting into this poor, pitiful me, all of this stuff that I have to deal with when it's stuff that a lot of people would love to deal with. And so I just constantly tell them, hey, just constantly understand that you are in the very, very small minority and that it is truly a privilege for you to be where you are.
Hey, Coach, that is excellent advice. We appreciate your time so much, and best of luck in the next year. I'm sure we'll be talking to you soon. Thanks, Coach, again for joining us.
Hey, appreciate it a lot. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. All right, before we came on, USC added another top commit, John Juju Smith, and for more on him and what's going on in our war room, we're going to send it over to Zach Poff to show us what's going on. Hey, Zach.
Well, thank you, guys. Zach Poff here in the War Room, where a lot of fun work has been going on. I have Mitch Stevens joining me. Big day for USC football. Steve Sarkisian has done a phenomenal job. He just landed his second 5-star recruit in a matter of hours, John Juju Smith from Long Beach Poly. And for more on him, Mitch Stevens is here to help me out.
Oh, man, what a day, huh, Zach? Yeah, Juju, John Smith, common name, not a common player at all. This guy is... he's just an athlete. I mean, He's recruited as either a wide receiver or defensive back. I think he wants to play receiver. His uncle coaches at USC. He's talked with coaches over there about playing wide receiver. I think he saw that. I think he sees at USC they play young guys early. You know, they play receivers right away. Marquise
Lee.
You know, Marquise Lee. And
what do you think? You think he's starting offense or going defense, though?
You know what? I think they're going to give him a shot at receiver. But you know, he's a big, strong kid. He's not fleet. You know, he's not a burner. But he does have very good moves, and when he has to put into overdrive, he can. But I think defense might be his calling.
We got a lot of Niner fans here. Jerry Rice wasn't the fastest guy either, but he got the job done. Now, talking about Wills, Adoree Jackson. Talk about SC's recruiting class. What does this mean to Steve Sarkisian, who is the head man now down at SC, and kind of talk about Adoree Jackson's versatility?
Well, we were just talking. I mean, you know, one morning they get 3 of the top 38 uncommitted kids. 3 of the top 38 players are all uncommitted, all come to USC. A sensational day. Those 2 guys, between Juju and Adoree, you're talking, you know, 4 positions, you know, returners, Adoree punts. I mean, you're talking 2 very, very versatile players. As I mentioned earlier, I think Adoree has a different gear. I think he's recruited as a number 1 cornerback, but I think he needs to get the ball in his hands. I think they're going to find a way. Maybe we'll have a Miles Jack situation. Sorry, a UCLA guy.
It hurts a little bit. It hurts a little bit. But if he's anything like Miles Jack, I think that's winning for Steve Sarkisian and the USC Trojans. Now, talking about a guy that's maybe a little slower, but a big boy, Damian Mama. What signing does this mean for USC? And it's been reported that he's going to play his freshman season and most likely take a Mormon mission for a couple years after that. But what can we expect from Mama next year as a true freshman?
Well, he's already of size. He has been, you know, he's the number 1 guard in the entire country. I think he's ready now. You know, he talks about getting, you know, losing some weight, and you know, he moves awfully well, and he's played at a high level against high competition. Obviously, St. John Bosco plays in the middle. They might have played the toughest schedule in the whole nation. And he's a dominant player. I think he's ready now. And yes, you need guys to block for those skilled guys.
Well, guys, that's all the time we have for you here in the War Room. And I know Andy Bill is very happy. Big USC fan. Fight on, Andy. And send it back to the studio. Steve and Steve.
All right, thanks, guys. A lot going on in the War Room. A lot going on with USC. And again, we want to thank Coach Robert Weiner for the interview early on in this segment. All right, we're going to take another break. We're going to be back in a little bit. We're going to have some special guests in Studio 8. We will have a UCLA commit. We will have a Duke commit right here in our studios in Cameron Park, California. This is our live signing day show presented by Jimmy John's and American Family Insurance.